Ranked choice voting tabulations are now underway in Augusta. There are at least 3 elections that this process will decide: the 2nd congressional Democratic primary and both primaries for governor. In those races, no candidate got more than 50% of the vote, setting off Maine's ranked choice instant runoff tabulation. Tabulating all the votes from across Maine's 487 cities and towns is expected to take a few days. Working town by town, they scan the paper ballots or upload the digital results from communities that already have a digital scanner on site. All those results are fed into a computer and the results come in. But if you were hoping for an epic reveal, you may need to temper your expectations.
The software is such that it runs the numbers all in one time. It's like milliseconds to do that. But I think we have a way that we can pull it in to a spreadsheet and show you each round. So maybe it'll have a little more dramatic effect. You know, after all of this, we want to get our fun and make sure that we have some drama.
The process is slow, methodical, and very formulaic, which is all on purpose. And if you like that sort of thing, you can visit Augusta yourself or tune in online. Following election night on Tuesday, Senator Susan Collins is responding to Graham Platner's Democratic primary victory speech. Platner devoted a good chunk of his 22-minute victory speech attacking Collins for voting with President Trump, voting to confirm Brett Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court, for being in politics almost as long as Joe Biden was, and for breaking her 1996 pledge to serve only 2 terms. Then he called Collins corrupt, suggesting legislation she wrote led to millions for her husband's old firm. Take a listen to what Platner said, followed by the response our Phil Hirschkorn got from Collins today.
Susan Collins has used her privilege and power to funnel $60 million in federal contracts, $60 million of our tax dollars, to her lobbyist husband. If that's not corruption, I don't know what is.
Well, it's just not true. And it's obvious that Mr. Platner has a problem with the truth. We've seen that over and over again as controversy after controversy comes out about him, and he changes his story, blames it on some experiences in his life, and changes his explanation.
The bipartisan legislation Collins co-wrote with late Connecticut Senator Joe Lieberman, the Accountability in Government Contracting Act of 2007, is credited with strengthening transparency and competition in federal contracting, and it unanimously passed the Senate. Collins married her husband Tom in 2012, and her staff tells New CENTER Maine he has not been a registered lobbyist since 2008. Finally, any federal contracts Tom's old firm might have received would have been awarded by executive branch agencies, not Congress. You can find our earlier story fact-checking the rest of Platner's speech on our website, newscentermaine.com. We're taking a closer look at some comments made by President Trump yesterday regarding Maine's lobster industry. He was signing a proclamation to open up protected waters in the Pacific Ocean to fishing.
And again, in Maine, I opened it up. You know who was fishing there? Canada. Japan was fishing there. Maine lobster. You couldn't get a Maine lobster. You had to go to Japan to get a Maine lobster. You believe it? You had to go to Canada to get a Maine lobster. They were fishing there. Not only that, you had to go a day and a half in a boat, and they had you at 3 knots. That means like essentially a little bit different than 3 miles an hour, but it means slow. 3 knots until you got outside of this 500-mile area, because they didn't want you to disturb the fish that you weren't allowed to fish for. No, but think of it. These people are crazy.
So we spoke with an organization that advocates for fishermen in Maine, and they say that while he got some things wrong there, they're grateful for the president and feel like he's heard their concerns more than any other administration. An industry spokesperson says the president is likely conflating several different things that have happened. For one, he did open up some space on the East Coast for more fishing. It's called the Northeast Canyons and Seamounts National Monument, but it's off the coast of Rhode Island. Maine fishermen do not fish there. As for foreign vessels fishing in Maine waters, the industry tells us that also doesn't happen overall, but there is a bit of water called the gray zone off the down east coast. That's a 277 square mile area that both Canada and America have been arguing over since the 1700s. As for the availability of Maine lobster, you can find it at markets, grocery stores, and restaurants across the state. Elliot Cutler's lawyer is arguing that the former Maine gubernatorial candidate's 6 alleged probation violations should be challenged. According to his attorney, Walt McKee, he was arrested for failing to sign a probation treatment plan document that had internet restrictions. However, McKee says the document Cutler was required to sign was inconsistent with what the court ordered and that Cutler should be released from jail. Cutler was granted restricted internet access at a hearing last week. A legal expert is raising questions about Cutler's case, calling it unusual.
What is driving the behavior where the state is filing motion after motion after motion? This is just a very unusual circumstance. We see people with motions to revoke probation all the time. We see people with a couple of motions to revoke probation. 6 motions to revoke probation in a very few amount of months is sort of what is going on here. And that it just begs a lot of questions.
Cutler is due for an initial court appearance on the latest alleged probation violation. However, it is unclear when that hearing will be scheduled. A plan to redevelop the former Androscoggin Mill site in Jay into an AI-powered data center is now on hold. Developers were targeting a groundbreaking for the project next month. As News Center Maine's Alex Haskell explains, town officials say the company behind the proposed data center has backed out, leaving questions about what comes next for the area.
The future of the former Androscoggin paper mill is once again unclear. In a Facebook post, the town of Jay announcing the data center project is currently on hold. Town officials say the owners of the mill property were notified by Sentinel Data Centers that the company would no longer be moving forward with the project.
I wish I was surprised.
State Representative Amy Rader is a Democrat from Bangor.
I've seen what other communities have done, what they've been promised, and what was not delivered.
Rader supported a bill that would have placed a moratorium on new data centers in Maine. Governor Janet Mills vetoed the measure because it failed to include an exemption for the Jay project, which her office says had strong local and regional support. Lawmakers later failed to override that veto.
If it's a good project, a moratorium will not kill it. If it's a fly-by-night operation trying to take advantage of a community, a moratorium will hurt it. So that was the reason that I thought the moratorium was a very reasonable compromise.
State Representative Sheila Lyman is a Republican representing Jay. She calls the news about the data center unfortunate. She tells News Center Maine she is trying to learn why Sentinel Data Centers decided to pull out of the project. The town says the property owners are continuing discussions with other interested parties, but what happens next at the site remains unclear.
Alex Haskell reporting there. We've reached out to Sentinel and the property owners JGT2 Redevelopment for comment, but have not yet heard back.